Why are you so far away?
Huh?
Why are you so far?
What up? It's your boy, Amaya.
What's your name?
I'm Josh.
Welcome back to the Wilson Vlog Season 2, Episode 3. So today we're talking about something that we have a lot of conversations in our household about. And we went on IG Live and we asked what people wanted to hear from us. And this is something that somebody asked us to talk about. And today we're going to begin, because this cannot be the only conversation, I think, begin a conversation about politics. So to start the conversation, I think we need to start by talking about how we lean as far as politics go. So I think we should describe how we think the other one leans. And
Ooh, she's trying to see if I'm a Trump supporter.
Oh, we wouldn't be married if you were a Trump supporter.
Anyway, how would you describe me?
I would describe Joshua as a moderate. So, but I think he leans on certain issues. It depends on what it is. But I would describe Josh as a moderate. So he's kind of right there in the middle. He can kind of see things from both sides. So I would describe you as a moderate. Am I correct?
To an extent. As far as you go, I would, I think you would be more of a liberal. On most topics.
Yes.
I think on certain topics, you might be more moderate.
Yeah.
Leaning on the left.
I can't remember what's the left and the right.
So left is liberal.
Okay.
Very, very like, everybody gets free stuff. And conservatives like, work for it, you bastards. Which I feel like is...
There are sides to it that...
Yeah, like...
Yeah, there are sides on either side, there are justifications for why.
Right.
And I think if you're a believer, like, I've heard it said that you can never like go straight down a ballot box. Like if you truly believe in Jesus, like you have to, like there are some things that like you can't just vote just one way in certain conscience. Like there's some things on either side that you disagree with. So that's why you kind of, again, that's like the Christian lifestyle is filtering everything through God's word. So
right.
I don't think anybody who is a believer can look at a ballot and just say, oh yeah, I can vote completely one way.
Which is very challenging for me because depending on how I feel, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want this to happen. And if we get a little bit, you know what I mean? And I get that everybody else has that fear of like losing control and wants to thing. But I think as someone who's learning this at 26, I don't know, you just try to figure things out. And for me, I'm starting to realize, okay, like my faith has to come into politics.
Right.
And that's scary. It's not always black and white. It's a lot of gray and a lot of grace. So we wanted to go over a little bit of information on how to actually have conversations about politics in a very safe way. I feel like we live in a culture, a community where people get very passionate about their politics. So this is kind of a little breakdown, and we're gonna have more conversations about this. It's a little bit of a breakdown on how we should have these conversations. So babe, what you think?
Yeah, I think it's like exactly what Josh said, like it's very important to know how to have conversations, because I think like there is space to disagree, because obviously like we don't have the same political leanings, but there are times when we do have the conversations and we do disagree, and there have been times where we've fought because we didn't really know how to like argue, like not argue, but have the conversation.
Right.
So I would say there is a healthy way to have the conversations, and the conversations are good because I think a lot of times we can be in our own heads about what we think and what we think is right or just, and it's always good to hear
From
somebody else's
yeah.
perspective, because I think that's what democracy is about, is putting people together and letting them all have a voice. So
Right.
when it comes to the first like your first tip for having like healthy political conversation is to listen. I know that I do this quite a bit, and I'll have a conversation, not even a political conversation with somebody, but I'll be having a conversation, and while that person is talking, instead of listening to them, I'm like, oh, let me see how I'm about to flame this person. After they finish this point, what am I about to say back to rebuttal? But I'm not listening to what they're saying. I'm just formulating something to say back.
Right. And it's okay to have a real conversation where you listen to someone, take a minute, pause, think through what they just said, and respond in a way that would be proper. And I guess my point is we get into this reality where it's if I don't respond immediately to what you've just said, then I'm weak, or I'm not prepared, or et cetera, et cetera. Leave your insecurities out the door and just listen to the person. That would draw more unity towards the conversation, towards politics, versus disunity. And I think we're very encouraged by trying to win an argument versus just simply have a conversation on someone else's viewpoint on what we should be voting for and what's important to them and what's important to us. The second key to properly having a political conversation with someone would be to be educated. And that kind of goes hand in hand with listening, because someone might have some information that you may have not known, a personal experience that they have had that kind of lets them lean towards the way they're voting or who they like over et cetera, et cetera. So be educated in the conversation, but also be hey, listen, if you don't have the answer or don't have that understanding, go and get information, go and do your research, go and fact check, so to speak, about it.
Yeah, and I would say the biggest thing about educating yourself is that it is harder and harder to fact check, I think, depending on who you're getting your information from. So one thing that we learned from Propaganda and Alma, who do Red Table, is it's wise to listen to multiple different outlets of news. So you can listen to CNN, listen to MSNBC, listen to Fox, listen to your local news, listen to different things. It's also good to listen to worldwide news. So listen or read to BBC. That's worldwide news, because sometimes you get so zoned into what's happening in American politics that you're not knowing what's happening worldwide at all. And it's also cool to see the world's view of what's going on in your country, because most times it's very much a abstract, non-binary,
biased.
Yeah, non-biased viewpoint, because those people are not living here. So it's kind of cool to see it from another perspective. So read a lot of different outlets of news, because I think that way you're not always hearing, one side of the coin. And also make sure that you're reading news stories, not opinion posts or blog posts, actually reading fact checking. There's so many things that you could consume to be educated. But I think the balance of where you're getting your sources is super important.
It's huge. That's really good, babe. The last tip that I want us to give you is essentially give grace to the situation. So if someone has a different viewpoint that you think is extremely destructive to the environment, community, or time that you want to live in, give grace to that person. They're coming from a different experience, different point of view, a different lifestyle. And so give grace to that person, allowing that person to have that worldview, and then throw it in grace and throw it in prayer and be listen, especially for the Christian, if you don't agree with them or whatever, pray that you're right. And if you're not right, be willing to be okay, I was wrong. Let me change my viewpoint on something. It's okay to be wrong in a situation, and that's a part of the grace, is giving yourself grace as well to say, okay, I wasn't really thinking properly in that, or I wasn't really wise in this. There's a lot of sensitivity in politics, and that's the reason why people are so passionate about it. A part of having conversations politically is providing a safe space for someone to express their emotions, their feelings, and ultimately why they're voting or going a certain way.
So I would also say, as far as like the Christian viewpoint of politics, is that the word does command us to pray for our leaders, to lift up our leaders, no matter, you know, who they are. So I think that's like super important. And I mean, that's a struggle and a challenge for me at times, because I don't agree with a lot of the things happening in Washington right now. But at the end of the day, I think the Christian hope ultimately is not in the government. And we have to remember that even though things may seem bleak, or we feel like there's a lot of corruption, it feels like there is nothing being solved, like we have to remember that like our ultimate hope is not in who's in the White House. The government is like something, an authority is something that God instates, but it's not him at the end of the day. So
right.
I think that's just important when you're having those conversations, is like, this is not a life or death, salvation situation conversation. So it's good to give grace and to listen, and you never know what kind of, you know, gospel sharing can come from those conversations, but they are not like a thing that you have to win, like Josh said. So
swag.
Are you registered to vote? Comment down in the comments below. Are you registered right now? Do you have a registered?
Or hit us with one of those, you know, hit us
the
with
hands emoji. If you're not registered to vote, you should be registered to vote. So you should do that.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, y'all, for watching. We really enjoy these. Thanks for just supporting us. If you really enjoyed it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on your notifications. We want to keep this conversation open.
Yes.
We want to bring up some topics that are hot to you and that are controversial, that maybe we can speak on and kind of have this one-on-one thing going. So let us know what you think. If you like it, hit the like button. If you don't like it, don't hit the like button or dislike button.
Just leave it in the
Just leave it in the note. Yeah. Just leave it. Yeah.
Just leave it.
Just leave it alone if you don't like it. Just don't watch it. If you also enjoy these videos, go ahead and share it with some of your homies and see what they think. We want to create conversations where it's not just, you know, online, but we want to open it up in the real realm and just like allow people to have great conversations. So that's why we're doing this. And yeah.
That's it. See you guys in the next one.
See ya.
Bye.
Love Rightly.